Hi, everyone. How are you? I would like to do another therapy session with our little friend here. And I would like to say that for the copyright, I'm doing this disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, which gives allowance for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. It's not my right to infringe. It is my hope to somehow figure out how she's so confused on what narcissists truly are, and that she's a huge creator with 131,000, and I've got 950 now. So I mean, I am right up here trying to be steady on my feet to be able to speak and say, ma'am, you have the narcissism wrong. So let's just go through our therapy here and get this kind of figured out. Now, let me back her up a little bit. Like I say, the volume is really hard to hear on her. So I'll repeat the concepts. I am drinking my hot chocolate with marshmallows because it's a beautiful snowstorm out there. It just looks beautiful. So I think I almost just choked on a marshmallow, but I think I'm all right. So I've got her unmute volume. Your volume. Only to there? All right, let's try.
Why did Chris Watts murder his family? What was his motive? A narcissist needs to be the center of someone's world. They need to be completely need.
Okay, so she titles this Chris Watts, Why He Killed His Family, Mindset of a Murderer. And Shanann looks freaking gorgeous here. I love this version, this picture where, it's not black and white. What do they call this one? It's just got that little bit of blush to it. I think they look their absolute best here. I love the way she's looking up at him. He's looking his best. This was the stuff that love is made out of.
Needed and adored by someone, or at least.
Okay, so she thinks that Chris Watts is the narcissist. So she's setting this up, saying that narcissists need to feel needed and wanted. And what she says next is, and I hope that you guys can hear it. I hope that the way it's recording it, you guys can hear it better, because I don't know what's going on with her volume. But maybe no one was able to hear her videos, is why they haven't ever challenged them. Maybe. What she's going to say next is she's going to say that Shanann was very sick when he first met her, so that appealed to his narcissistic side. What we know is that she wasn't sick. She was just under a lot of stress because there was a large amount of money that came up missing from her employer, and kind of the everybody kind of thought it was her. And in response to that, it's called like a somatoform, when you internalize your stress. I think that Shanann really internalized her stress. So when she was not able to outwardly express the anger, I mean, yeah, we saw the rageful texts and whatnot, but she wasn't able to just come right out and be expressive of her anger. She was what Freud would say anal retentive, and we saw that with her not being able to, crank out a turd for 3 weeks, and she was pregnant when she was talking about how constipated she was. Please, nobody go 3 weeks without turding, especially if you're pregnant. You should turd every 24 hours, just saying, unless you're a sloth. Anyway, Freud would really literally say that she's anal retentive. And we saw that with those strict schedules, etc., etc. So when she gets stressed out, she doesn't eat, she doesn't poop. She gets a stomach ache then from not, eliminating, and it starts to have all kinds of issues with your body. Your body is supposed to be an in and out, not like the drive-through, which really, oh gosh, have you guys ever had an In-N-Out burger? They're the best. They don't have them where I'm at, but oh man, they're the best. I miss those. Had them in California. So anyway, she honestly thinks that Chris Watts is the narcissist, and there's a lot of professionals that went out there and said that he was, when they were following the headlines that were out there, the only information that was given to us. As time has went by and the whole story has been able to flesh itself out, those of us who have came back and looked further into it see that no, that was an attractive deterrent. He was not the narcissist. She was.
Least completely affected by them. And when he first met Shanann, she was very sick.
She was not sick.
And she was very vulnerable. But
Okay, so he.
for her, and she started to do really well with her business and to get a lot.
You're so full of shit. She says, oh God, this woman, I'm trying to have a therapy session with you, ma'am, and this is not working out well because you don't have the facts straight. Just take a deep breath. Take a deep breath and rub my temples here. I don't know if you guys can hear this. She said that I gotta rewind it because I can't, my brain cannot process what this woman said.
And she was very vulnerable. But things changed for her, and she started to do really well with her business and to get a lot of new friends.
You crazy? She said, she said, if you can freaking believe this, she said that, oh, when Chris first met her, she was very sick and very vulnerable. But things turned around for her, and she started doing really, really well with her new job and met a lot of new friends. So she's setting this up as, oh my God. And like I say, I can't get her volume to go up, so I don't know if you guys are able to hear it or not. If people couldn't actually hear what she was saying, would make a lot of sense as to why these videos have not been further challenged. I am getting messages saying that other creators have tried to make contact with this woman and tell her that she's got it backwards, but I don't see that it did any good. So these are her new buddies. Yeah. This is what we call fake friends. This is what we call MLM love bombers. They appeal to a certain type of person because there is something called love bombing, and love bombing is very popular in people who have borderline personality disorder. They will just glob onto you and love bomb you and love bomb you until you don't play right, and then they go into breakdown, and it is a mess. Okay. So it seems to me that there's a certain cohort of people who really do pour themselves into certain MLMs and do this. You know, they're the Huns. You think of them, you see them on your Facebook, you see them out when you go to the grocery store. They're the Huns. I didn't do well with MLMs because I'm not like a ladies lady. I don't really like have, you wouldn't really see me in this thing, this kind of a picture. I mean, sure, in the past, occasionally, I mean, you might be able to find like 3 instances in my life where I would have like a picture like this, but not like every month or week.
And her not needing him nearly so much and not being so codependent on him would have been quite insulting to Chris because
What the fuck? She said that her now not needing him as much, not being so codependent on him, would have been very hard for Christopher.
it would have meant that he was no longer everything to her. And it would have
She said it would have meant that he was no longer everything to her. What in the Okay, so now here we have a picture of Nicole for some odd reason. We go from marriage to MLM to there, which is actually what, 8 years? She just went through 8 years and 54 seconds outlining his narcissism.
been quite different with Nicole Kessinger because she was just starting to fall in love with him, and so he would have meant a lot to her. All of her focus would have been on him, And this is why at the beginning of a relationship, a narcissist heaps on loads of compliments and puts someone on a pedestal.
Okay. So she's trying to say that with a narcissist, which is true, in the beginning, it's very much like intoxicating, which it is whether you're a narcissist or not. You know, you've got all those hormones going and everything. And my brilliant son just said about, the 3-month rule, that if you break up at 3 months, it was never meant to be, because 3 months is when the hormones stop working and you really start getting to know the person. I think that's really wise. I raised at least one good thing. It's kidding. Anyway, so she's trying to say that Christopher, the big narcissist he is, that she thinks, um, went to Nicole because his needs for being needed as a big narcissist were not being um, fulfilled by Shanann anymore. So poor Shanann, who no longer sick and vulnerable, um, didn't need him anymore. Okay, that sounded like I farted, and I didn't out in my chair. I promise. I can tell you guys I farted. I need to just stop this little mouth party I'm having here. There, I'm done. I just had to focus more on chewing the marshmallows because I had all these marshmallows in the hot chocolate, and so then I was trying to drink them, but then the marshmallows were going down whole. And like I said, I almost just had a near-death experience with that because I almost choked on the marshmallow. And so now I can be focused. But like I said, I didn't fart, even though it sounds like you guys are probably rewinding and being like, oh, that was a fart. That actually happened on Days of Our Lives once. And one of the actors did fart. I was like, oh, I know he did. I had to rewind several times and watch everybody's face and everything. You saw everybody just kind of move in the other direction. So, okay, here we go.
Partly because they're so excited to be the full focus of that person. Narcissistic supply is something a narcissist relies on.
Oh, no. 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 She was just saying that it would just work because her focus would have been on him and he would have just adored that, and he needs narcissistic supply, and now she's went over to a lion with some prey. I did not expect to see this, ma'am. I don't want to see this. I don't know. That's not, I was not, just like freaking Walt Disney in the freaking Bambi, the most traumatic, horrific movie that was ever made, and you try this shit right on me. I'm not even looking. What the?
To get through everyday life. It's a sort of fuel that they need. Because they can't feel love, and because when they're loved, it's not really them that's being loved, it's their mask, because nobody really knows who they are.
Okay, what do the tigers have to do with it? Okay, narcissists are freaking snakes. They're not these. I don't want to pat his nose. I would just come right up and be like, hey, tiger, let me just pet your nose right there. Can I nuzzle your forehead?
It means that they need to get the next best thing, and that is like a big ego boost.
What is?
When somebody reacts to a narcissist emotionally, it can be a negative reaction, it can be upset or fear, or it can be a positive one where they adore the narcissist. But I don't want to see this. It gives the narcissist a feeling of power.
No,
because they've managed to get somebody to feel something.
That's exactly how I feel
because of them.
I don't know why you got to put that there.
That makes them feel really powerful and like they matter.
I don't care.
And feeling like they matter and that they're important is the next best thing to feeling loved. If he had left Shanann and shared custody of the children, he wouldn't have had Nicole Kessinger's full attention.
What?
Here's what she says in the police interview about it.
Okay. After she just did these horrific pictures that now I'm going to have to unthink, I'm sorry that she had to throw in these. Maybe, South African. I wonder if that's your problem. That might be it because, like I say, I thought she was Australian, and Iwasi said she ain't one of ours. So then maybe she was a Kiwi, and the Kiwi says she's not one of theirs. So I thought maybe she's British, and my British friends are saying she ain't a Brit. And so maybe because she just stuck this crap out and she's like in some kind of a jungle, maybe she was looking out and seeing this horrible thing with this lion and whatnot, and the camera went away and she didn't even mean to be putting in those pictures talking about Chris Watts, and it was just something happening in her backyard, or I don't know, but it doesn't make any sense. Now she's saying that Christopher Watts couldn't have had shared custody because Nicole wouldn't. What? Hold on. What'd you say? Again, my maybe get a break. Oh, I'm not. I can't back up because I can't see what you're showing here. You said something about what, Nicole? What?
Like, he could pretty much call me whenever he wanted. Like, I was the one that would tell him, like, hey, when your kids are awake, you need to spend time with your kids. Like, do that. And then after they go to bed, like, if you want to talk to me, you can talk to me. Like,
Yeah, that's what she said. She said, like, you know what? Like, Nicole said that, like, when, you are, like, done with the kids, you can call me and stuff, but like when the kids are there, be present with the kids. Like, don't like have your time like be interfere with like my time. And she said it like that, and then here she is with her hand on her head. I don't know how this has to do with anything narcissistic, because Chris Watts was not the narcissist, so then why would we have to involve Nicole Kissinger into this, or whatever her new middle name is? um Basically, Nicole and Chris were still very much in the lust scene. They were doing some down and dirty stuff with condoms. Thank you, Nicole, for explaining this with your father present and about the dates on the condom. And I know more about condoms and whatnot than I ever knew because I'm allergic to them. So I never knew about, their dates and whatnot. But I do appreciate you imparting that knowledge on the rest of us. And I think it's weird that Christopher Watts went and got the condoms that they had in the closet anyway. Like, Shanann wouldn't have noticed that this box of their condoms is gone and she was gone and not put it together. That's very risky behavior. As a single woman, she should have had her own supply of condoms. I mean, we're in today's world, you can have them, and they actually have non-latex ones and everything like that. So you can be a very prepared woman, not depending on the man to bring a condom into this. Okay. So I'm just going to take that opportunity to give you guys that public service announcement.
sometimes, like, right after work, if I was like still talking to him, I get kind of bummed out, and I tell him just like, oh, it's frustrating sometimes, like having to like wait. But then once his kids were asleep, he never like had any. It was like he could do what he wanted. Do you know what I'm saying? And I'm like,
Okay, so like what she said, because like the volume is not like up, he said that like she sometimes got like kind of bummed because she would have to wait until he was like off the phone or done with the kids to like wait for him to call and stuff, but she did, and it was so cute. And this picture is so interesting because her hairline is very far back.
if you guys end up doing a week on, a week off with your kids, I'm like, the week you have your kids, be with your children. And the week that you don't, I'm like, I don't even want to see you every day. I'm like, I think we should spend like a few days of that together. I'm like, because I like my space and I think you need your space.
By saying this, Nicole is suggesting that she doesn't want to get involved with the children and that her relationship with Chris exists only outside of the time he spends.
Oh, you are so full of shit. Okay, so Nicole says, look, if you and Shanann do 1 week with the kids and 1 week off, I don't even want to see you in that week. Have your time with the girls. If you guys do 2 days or whatever, blah, 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 blah. She's like, enjoy your time with them. I want you to focus with them. And she's saying that means that she doesn't want to be a part of their lives, which is not true. She did not make any ultimatum to that effect whatsoever. She was saying, like a mature person would be, that, hey, you're going through a tough time. Keep your relationship with the girls so that there's stability there. She talked about how she would like to teach the girls to raise houseplants and have respect for plants and nature. And as she was taking Christopher out to do more things than he had ever done outside in Colorado since the whole time he lived there, he was having such a great time because she was saying, "What do you want to do?" And he was like, "Me? I've never been able to say what I want to do. I've never been asked." Does that sound like a narcissist? No, a narcissist tells you what you're going to do today, how you're going to do it, when you're going to do it, and you're going to like it.
With them. So, in both of their eyes, Bella and Celeste were obstacles to them spending time together.
What the She just said, in both of their eyes, Bella and Celeste were obstacles to their time together. So she's setting this up to go with that headline that he just became a rabid dog and unalived his wife and kids when they came back because he really liked playing house with his mistress. And if the mistress wouldn't have came along, they'd all be one big happy family still. No, no, no.
Chris Watts had told Nicole that he and Shanann were separating, but it does sound to me like she was hurrying things along a bit.
Sometime when he was out there, he told me, we're putting the house up for sale as soon as we get back. And I was like, well, that was quick. And he was like, it's her. She's ready to go. And I was like, okay. And
Did you guys hear that? How she twisted that? This woman. She said Christopher told Nicole that him and his wife were separating. Okay, we got that. He said when he was in North Carolina that Shanann said that they needed to put the house on the market. And she said, "Wow, that's that." And he's like, "Yeah, it's ready to go." I don't see how she's building this up. I really hope you guys can hear this.
so I left it at that. And then he got back, and I started asking him, like, what are you gonna do? Because the Colorado housing market is fire, and you guys are gonna sell this house like real fast. And I'm like, you need to start looking for a new place to live. And I'm like, where do you want to live?
Okay, so she's like going, you know what? The Colorado housing market is like fire, and you guys are like gonna sell a house like so fast. And so the house is gonna sell like immediately. So what are you gonna do?
And I was really trying to help him out. I'm like, do you want to get a house? Do you want 3 bedrooms so you have one and each of your girls have one? I'm like, where do you want to live? And he doesn't remember probably what it's like to like be single or have time where it's like just him. Sure. And so I was just like, like embrace that. I think it's a beautiful thing. And
Nicole's opinions would have put increasing pressure on Chris to make a decision. And we know that Shanann had sent him a book to try to heal their relationship, and that, she was afraid to go away that weekend because she just wanted to work on their relationship. So Chris would have been under pressure from both sides. Swapping Shanann.
Okay. Yeah, that book that Shanann sent him that he put in the garbage. That book that you're referring to. When Shanann went out to North Carolina and her plans to stay out in North Carolina and play house with somebody new that she may or may not have already had their baby in her belly about didn't work out, and she decided that she had to go back to plan A and make Christopher forgive her. That book? What about that book? Now, you said that Shanann didn't want to go away that weekend, that she wanted to stay home and work on the relationship. Then why didn't she? Because supposedly she hadn't pooped in 3 weeks. She couldn't stand up, was so dizzy, wasn't eating. Her friends were so worried about it that honestly, I didn't see any MLM talk about this at all. It was all about Shanann and how she got rejected for sex, but she was spotting, and She just gotten off an airplane from North Carolina and then went and had an ultrasound and then was back on an airplane. Well, if you're spotting haven't crabbed, dizzy, can't eat, can't drink, you should not be going back on an airplane. And the pictures that we saw of her in Arizona were not of that one where you just put where it's dopey dog. Okay. She was having the time of her life in Arizona, as we all saw. Okay. That picture that you put of Dopey Dope was when she was in North Carolina showing this pitiful picture of, I haven't crapped in 3 weeks. I can't eat anything. I can't drink anything. I'm dizzy and Christopher won't pork me. That was that picture. She was complaining because he rejected her from sex. Now, if a woman was honestly so constipated she hadn't cranked one out in 3 weeks, was spotting, couldn't eat, couldn't drink, and was dizzy, do you think that she really would want to get porked? I don't think so.
For Nicole would have been a difficult decision for Chris, because he would lose his stability in the relationship. He'd lose someone that was familiar, something that he knew would be easy to continue with.
What?
A narcissist will not usually leave a victim unless they have found a replacement source of supply. When a narcissist has found another person he can get narcissistic supply from, he will then do what's called the final discard, and he will discard the victim.
Okay, I understand that narcissists do that, and they're always looking for a new supply, and they do discard and stuff. But what does that have to do with Christopher Watts, man? Huh? Exactly. Silence. Silence. You're silenced, right? You don't know what to say because it doesn't make any sense. None of the behaviors that you are stacking up against Christopher Watts match up for Christopher Watts. Now, if we reverse it and we say that Shanann Watts was on clown diet when she found out she was pregnant, she was at Mount Fiji, the restaurant, with a friend and asking about divorce to the lawyer who was sitting there at the communal table. And she had a friend with her, and she was pregnant. She was asking about divorce. They were laughing about it. Go to the timing. From the last time that he says they did it to when she was pregnant and all the ways that she was making little games about putting up ultrasound pictures from Cece and Bella, changing things up, other things, mixing the date up and everything. Why was she doing that? She was doing that because the dates line up that she got pregnant at a time when she was out of town, smiling and grinning and mugging for the camera for another man. The new sense of supply, if you want to go there with narcissistic supply. Now, if you look at the way that she was treating Christopher Watts and the horrible text messages that she was writing him, at the very same time, the message that she was writing to the other man that she was seen in pictures with were very kind, encouraging, exciting. So when she got Christopher Watts to get 10 grand out of the bank saying, oh no, we're 3 payments behind on the house payment. The bank messed up. I've just got to use this money to put there and I'll do it. I've just got to do this. And instead she took the money and used it for all of the airline tickets that she went back and forth from North Carolina, had her dad come back and forth and all that. I've talked about this before. She used the $10,000 because she never intended on coming back to Colorado. She was done. She was checked out. She had her new sense of supply. She headed to North Carolina. She had not been back to North Carolina since she fled with a little embezzlement snafu. Now, she went out there without a care in the world. Went there to the man that she'd been encouraging, the new supply, and said, hi, here I am. I moved out. I left Chris. Let's go play house. And he was like, who are you again? But we have so much fun on our MLM vacations. Yeah, and I've got a wife. Well, I have a husband. I left him, so you got to leave your wife. I have 2 kids with her. Well, I have at least one of yours. Okay? Think about it. She had a new sense of supply. Once that supply said, no way, no how, I'm not leaving my wife for you. Then she got sick. Just as she got sick with the embezzlement. Any time this narcissist named Shanann got put in a corner, she played ill. every time a narcissist gets caught red-handed with their lies, they become vulnerable, sick. How could you continue a fight when they're in pain and sick? And soon you're thinking about how to nurture them because they pick their victims well. They're nothing if they aren't smart in that regard. You even forget about what the fight started about because you're sitting there trying to meet their needs. And the more that they're in trouble, the more dramatic the illness is. Oh, they might need surgery, and then that surgery probably won't go well, and who's going to take care of this and that when they're down because, they're so important. They are so many things to so many people and all this. And soon you've got this big circus and everything, and you forgot about what you were mad about. That's what she did. That's what she did in North Carolina. That's what she did. And she pulled everybody and everyone into her drama tornado, the drama tornado that went around North Carolina when she hit town. They're still talking about it. Nutgate, Napgate, you bet. She hit town. The drama tornado all around, wherever she went. That's a narcissist doing their work. That's the chaos a narcissist creates. It has nothing to do with what Christopher Watts was doing at all.
In the most cruel, heartless way possible. There's a psychology term called self-justification, and self-justification is about how the harder the decision we have to make, the more we have to justify to ourselves that we made the right decision afterwards. And this matches something that Jackson McKenzie says in his book Psychopath Free, which is how a narcissist will discard somebody in the most heartless way possible to convince himself that this was the right decision that was made.
So she's talking about concepts and how a narcissist will discard the others in the most heartless way. Yeah, when Shanann went, made sure she was never alone with her husband, made sure her daddy, mommy, best friend, or whatever Nicole was always around. She didn't want to get alone with Christopher because of what she was planning. She never wanted him to be able to have the opportunity to ask her a question in private. She flew her daddy out there to be right there with her. And if things would have picked up were the way that she planned them, that she left Colorado behind in the dust and didn't care that she was leaving her house and everything else behind, she knew that house was going to get foreclosed upon any day. That's why she was having Nicole get the mail when she was out of town. She left. She thought she had the perfect plan. The only part of the plan that didn't work was that she didn't figure in that the new man had feelings and attachments that he was unwilling to let go of. Her getting rejected was scorched earth. Okay? It doesn't have anything to do with the psychological concepts that she's talking about. And she refers to a book being psychopath free. That doesn't have anything to do with what we're talking about. This has nothing to do with Christopher Watts. So I don't see that you're building the case of why, what your title says, is why he killed his family, the mindset of a murderer. You're not convincing me that Christopher Watts had this mindset because you're wrong.
Made, that it was a good idea to swap that source of supply for the next source of supply.
She's saying that Christopher decided to switch the supply from Shanann to Nicole. Instead of Shanann switching the source to the man that she was all but saying out loud she was having an affair with. There were all kinds of mumblings. There were all kinds of messages in between. Subliminally, yeah. But how would you feel if you woke up and you had gotten this barrage of hate and then see on your same Facebook that your wife had wrote these amazing words to this other man and she had just gotten done spending a weekend with him, hamming up for the camera with him? Huh.
And when we look at what happened with Chris Watts, what is a more final way of making sure that you tell yourself you made the right decision than making it impossible to undo that decision? If his whole family...
Okay, she's saying that he did this so that he could justify his decision to discard Shanann so that she was not around to make him question that decision.
Family are killed, he can't go back on it, and he's telling himself that choosing Nicole Kessinger over his family was the right thing to do. For a narcissist, it's all about control, and they don't want to be vulnerable. And if a narcissist is...
She's saying for a narcissist, it's all about control.
As I said in another video, luckily not all narcissists are sociopaths, and so they're not all going to kill their family or kill their partner when they discard them.
So she's saying that Christopher Watts is a narcissistic sociopath. He was tested for any and all psychological diagnoses, and of that were none found. That means that he was not diagnosed as a sociopath, psychopath. He was not diagnosed as a narcissist. They did not find that on their battery of psychological testing. So to do that now, based on the story here, really is questionable. I think that you could do a forensic analysis of Shanann's actions, and like I always say, go to Neek's Peaks, look at her channel, look at how she has the videos of Shanann herself, listen to what she says, watch what her eyes do. You can go back and make a forensic analysis of her personality disorders. But I just don't see that this is making a case for him doing this. Nicole did not give him those ultimatums. Nicole was not saying, leave your wife and marry me. It was not that way. It was essentially his wife left, but she left one foot in just in case, so that she'd have a place to go back in case the other plan didn't work out. She got a taste of what it would be like to be a single mom with 2 kids and one on the way. She didn't like it. That's what happened. Because the other guy wouldn't play into her games.
Very hard to know if somebody who is very narcissistic and has narcissistic personality disorder is also a sociopath or not. And so it's really important to watch out for the red flags of narcissism, and I'm going to be talking about those in future videos. Despite the fact that Shanann was very private about what was going on with Chris Watts to her family at the...
Oh, I hope you guys can hear this. She just said that Shanann was very private about the things that were going on with Chris Watts. And she purports that she read the discovery. Shanann told every single person every single thing, even about her bowel movements and when she masturbated and how the masturbation made her stress level go down. And Christopher Watts was not there, and she still hadn't, well, maybe one I don't know. But she said that morning that, hey guys, just saying, masturbation, kind of cures that stress. I feel a lot better now. Just saying. I, I, I am at a loss as to how you're putting this on him.
The time that it was happening, and she was probably private with other people about what was happening with Chris, even her friends.
She's saying that Shanann was private about what was happening with things to her family. No. And she's saying, and Shanann Watts was just very private about things that were happening with Chris to her friends. No.
Friends before the last few weeks, because we know that the neighbor said he would go crazy with rage.
What? Okay. She just said that nosy neighbor Nate said that Christopher Watts would go crazy with rage. Nosy neighbor Nate, why don't you look towards your own house? I don't know. I had a couple of neighbors. You know what? Here. Okay. I had these freaky ass neighbors that moved in, and we had the shared backyard. Okay? Newer development. When we moved in, there was nobody even on our block. It was nice. I liked it that way. Well, then these two move in, and they literally would put their lawn chairs at the edge of their yard, which did not have sod yet, faced at our house. Like they could have turned their chairs the other way, in any other way, and been looking, just kind of into yonder, into, general outside, towards their house. No, towards us. And they had to be the type that were sitting outside every freaking day. And I'm like, oh my God, I have to pull my shades again because freaks are sitting there looking at me again. Knock it off. Like, what? We move out here and I have to have two people sitting in my freaking backyard staring at me like, what? And, right? Well, I didn't notice it at first, but it's because they were letting their dog shit in my yard. And they didn't have sod yet. Okay, all right. Try not to look, whatever. Go out to dinner, come home, and what do I know? The two neighbors are in our front yard with their two dogs, letting them shit in my front yard. My husband and I are like, okay, don't say anything. This is weird, right? This is weird, right? We just go into our house. They don't say anything to us. They're just standing there letting their dogs shit in our yard. So about 2 or 3 months goes, and they're just sitting there at the edge, letting their dogs shit in our yard. I had to park on the side, and I stepped in a big pile of it. And they weren't cleaning it up. They didn't have their sod. I'm like, okay, I'm being a nice neighbor. Well, one day I went downstairs. I just wasn't feeling good, and I went down to get some like applesauce or something, right? And I'm in my nightgown, and it's like just kind of like dawn, and I see this freaking man in my window, the kitchen window, like right up there, scares me to death. And I realize it's him, and he's got his dogs like right by our kitchen window, pooping at like, freaking 5 in the morning, 4:35 in the morning. And I'm like, no, what's wrong with you, right? I'm like, this is weird. Told my husband. He's like, it's okay. They're going to get their sod. Okay. So a couple days later, they got their sod. I hung in. All right. Tell my husband about them being up there, right up next to the window. He was like, yeah, that's what happens every day when I come down. They're right there. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, yeah, they're doing it. I'm like, okay, well, they've got their sod. Now it won't happen again. I go down. Same thing. Just not feeling right. I've got Crohn's. I have to have, and with my Crohn's, it's like I just have to like eat certain things to kind of just throw at my stomach to make it knock it off, right? Same thing. He's in my kitchen window, and by then they have sod, so I'm like, no. And I was not having it, and I opened up the slider, and I was like, what the F is your problem? Why are you in my yard? Why aren't you letting your dog shit in your yard? He says, because your yard's already ruined. I don't want to ruin mine. So I had my own nosy neighbor Nate, right? So I was like, no, get off my property. Don't you ever come back. So he went and he got his husband. And here it is, 5:45 in the frickin' morning. My husband heard me yelling. My son heard me yelling. So they all come up and they're like, what is going on? And I was like, I am tired of having them do this. And they were like, okay, you're right. I'm in my nightgown. So they come up and they try to chest up to my husband. 5:45 in the morning. Have the right to use our yard for their dogs to shit because it's the only yard that their dogs know to shit in. And in my nightgown clad self screamed at them and was like, no, get off. You do not have, don't sit and look at me. Look in your own direction and do not ever have your dogs shitting in my yard again. Okay? Apparently it was a little bit louder than I thought because the construction workers that had just gotten to work, I did not see that they were already there, and they're doubled over laughing because here's this woman in her nightgown screaming about dog shitting in her yard. I guess it was hilarious. I guess I guess everybody has like a Ring doorbell cam now. So there was like little voice bits of it and everything, and everybody's like making little jokes of it, and it's still the topic of parties and stuff to this day. But anyway, oh, the one got a job and they had to move like 3 months later. Darn it. But it's like they moved and it's like the best energy because the new neighbors I have are just as sweet as can be. They do not aim themselves at me. They do not have their child in my yard pooping because apparently that's what I said when I was in my anger. I said, I don't go over to your house and shit, do I? Yeah. So if 5:45 in the morning, don't come over and have your animal poop and tell me this because our yard's already ruined from their dog. We had all of these areas of yellow and whatnot and all that because their dog. They're two little bugs. I don't have dogs. So then there had been these little things in the neighborhood thing about all of that people didn't appreciate, taking a walk with their dogs, having to walk their dog shit on other people's yards and people needed to clean it up. I found out people were talking about my yard because they figured that the people who lived there were them because they were out in my yard because I could never be out in my yard because they were in my yard. And so people were writing bad things and it's like, no, this is me. I live here. They don't live here. This is a real story. I had my own neighbor Nate and his husband in my backyard. So when I see people like neighbor Nate and him saying that Christopher was raging and everything, I don't even believe it because what's the other side of it? Was neighbor Nate just always sitting there looking at him? And maybe Christopher Watts was like, why don't you freaking look at your own house one day? Why don't you turn the F around? There's generally a second side to when you hear something and you just have to ask like a little question. Like, what is he doing? I mean, look at neighbor Nate, looking at this, like, I think he did it and everything. Because, him and Nicole have been talking earlier in the morning. I'm sure that Nicole was there doing her daily run to go and get the mail or whatever, and then realized that Shanann was still there. And she's like, oh, shit, she's still there. She was supposed to be at her doctor's appointment. Oh, no. So she, sees neighbor Nate sitting there as usual, pointed right towards the, driveway. She's like, hey, Nate, have you seen Shanann this morning? Did she come out? She was supposed to leave. No, I haven't seen anything. Okay, well, she was supposed to go to a doctor's appointment. Nate's like, I'm on it. Right? And then, Nate probably went in and did this. And then, it's like, yeah, well, I saw him backing up. Well, did they ever think to ask Nate, hey, does Christopher back his truck up every Monday morning? As he states that he did because there had been vehicle theft, theft of tools and stuff, which was collaborated by the other thefts in the area. And the thing is that Christopher Watts had to back up his truck to his garage because Shanann would not let him park his own truck in the driveway because she was afraid it would make oil spots. So he had to park on the street subjecting his vehicle to getting burglared, thefted, whatever you want to call it, otherwise mangled. He couldn't even keep it in his driveway. I don't know of anybody not letting their husband, house is in his name. He put her on it after the financing. But he can't even have the right to put his vehicle in the driveway of his house. He has to keep it on the street so that it doesn't make a spot on the driveway. And you call that a narcissist? You call him a narcissist because he obeys her saying that? No, 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 no. That right there. The fact that he couldn't even park his own vehicle in the driveway and had to back up every Monday to reload the tools he had taken out for the weekend says that the one who commanded that is the narcissist. So the narcissist and nosy Nate are out there sitting there all day, pontificating about what Christopher Watts isn't doing while he's busting his ass providing for the family. So, neighbor Nate, I don't care. Mm-mm. But you want to know what does happen in my neighborhood? Nobody poops in my yard anymore. My husband occasionally, but what can you do? Huh? What? Really bad audio. What?
The neighbour has since said that they didn't argue more than other couples, but he's also made it clear that he wants to protect the way.
The neighbor now has said that they didn't argue more than any other couple. So neighbor Nate went back on what he said.
That Shanann Watts is seen. He doesn't want her to be seen as someone who was always having screaming arguments with somebody.
Oh, she's saying that he did it because he doesn't want Shanann to be seen as the kind of woman who was always having screaming arguments at her.
In April, Shanann had also spoken to a divorce lawyer about custody when you're going through a divorce. And she had seemed very interested, so much so that he'd asked her if she was going through a divorce, and she'd responded just by smiling. And this makes me think that these phases of devaluation have been going on for some time.
Okay, so she just brought up the fact that Shanann brought the information to a lawyer in April about her getting a divorce. So she's saying that follows a pattern of when Shanann must have felt devalued. No, that sums it up, that she found out that she was pregnant, and she knew that she hadn't gotten pregnant from Christopher Watts because they had not been engaging in those kinds of things. And so she hopped on him once she found out that she was pregnant so that she could convince him a couple weeks apart is but in those things she was thinking, I might need to get a divorce. What am I going to do with the girls? How are we going to do custody? What are we going to do? Because she wasn't sure that Christopher was going to buy off on the fact that she could have gotten pregnant just by that one little half a time, right? Well, she is saying that goes to Shanann just feeling devalued. No, it corroborates the fact that they were not getting along for a very long time before Christopher Watts met Nicole Kissinger. Now, there are all kinds of weird things about when he truly met her, and I have covered those. But if we're going to this line of story where they met in June and they started their physical affair when she left for North Carolina, okay, but is it an affair if in April she was talking about getting a divorce openly in front of her friend at a restaurant? She's out there at Mount Fuji, which is like a Benihana, and he is at home having the girls fling chicken nuggets at him. She's out talking to a man about divorce with her friend and laughing. Look at those things. Those are the behaviors of a narcissist, not Christopher Watts sitting there having chicken nuggets flung at him.
Before this final discard, throwing the book in the bin was another punishing act and another way of humiliating Shanann.
She's saying that because Christopher Watts threw that book in the garbage, that was another sign of his narcissism, that he discarded it. No, I think that Shanann, who was not making the house payments behind his back, was not making any money at the MLM, was using the money that in fact he was making when he was getting up every day, providing for the family, that she was spending on going on all of the MLM trips that she had not in fact earned her way in, that she bought with his money behind his back, had Nicole go and get the mail so that he didn't know that he was losing his own house and everything else she wasn't paying, means that no book is going to fix that. No marriage counselor is going to fix that, because she's not going to go into a marriage counselor and say, hey, I'm a deceptive, deceitful piece of dung that's been doing this to him. She's going to go in there, I don't know why Christopher doesn't behave. I put a sticker on him, it didn't work. Put another sticker on him, he's doing better and everything, but I got to fix him. And I don't know that I can put a third sticker on him because he can't sleep right now at all.
Even though she wasn't aware that it had happened. It reminds me of when he sent the photo of the doll covered by the plastic sheet to Shanann.
Oh my God, you idiot. We're not going to do Dollgate. We're not going to do Dollgate. Now, see, this is a huge part of contention in here. And she just said here, she said, this is part of Christopher's narcissism, is that when he sent this picture to Shanann, okay? Now, that's a huge thing. Because in the discovery, it does state that. It does state that he walked in on Bella doing this to the doll, putting this sheet. It was actually, I thought it was a blanket. I was corrected. It is like the game of Twister. It's like the mat for Twister. This doll has the sheet, plastic, whatever, over its head. She is saying that this is showing the narcissist in him, that he took this picture and sent it to Shanann, which Shanann then posted on her Facebook. But she's saying that this is a proof of Christopher Watts' narcissism, in that he sent her this picture. Now, there are a lot of people out there that do not believe that version of the discovery, because I have read the discovery in full, as you all know, in 40 different parts. If you haven't listened to it yet, it's all there. Because I read the discovery as it is stated as that. I stand firm on what that discovery version says, until and if I see something that makes me believe that otherwise. That is where I stand for it. Now, many people say that it was her because it's on her Facebook. No, it was sent to her. Okay? It was sent, the same phone that had just been used to download naked pictures of Nicole Kessinger to his secret calculator app, was then used to take that picture and send to Shanann. It shows the same phone with a certain way that they have the phone all coded and everything. It was done by the phone technician. There are people who do not believe that. That is fine. There is room in all of this for people to have their own opinions. As for right now, that is what it says. Okay? My theory in this is that those girls had just spent 6 weeks alone. Well, not alone, but 6 weeks without Christopher Watts having an influence on them, with Shanann being alone with her girls in North Carolina. Okay? Now, my theory on Dollgate, why this was happening, is because Shanann made everything stop from 12 to 3 when she commanded the girls to go for a nap. Now, in North Carolina, it's going to be light. It's light most places in the United States at 12 noon, okay? Shanann could not and would not allow for anything to stop those naps. And if she was in her parents' house where she could not lock the doors, black out the windows, have a noise machine in their head, in their ears, right next to their bed, I believe that Shanann taught the girls to put their blankets over their head so that the light would not stop them from sleeping. It is the only thing that makes sense. This does not make sense in any other way. So I believe that the girls did that. They didn't want the light in their eyes. She taught them that way. Put the blankets over them from young so they knew. Because you see her taking pictures of the kids in their cribs and whatnot in very, very odd ways with putting pillows and blankets over their head. It is because she was putting them to bed at 6:30 p.m. till 6:30 a.m. So they were being taught to go to bed, be forced to sleep in waking hours. Okay? That's how this, I believe, happens. I do not believe that this is one more way that in which she is using to show that this is why Christopher Watts killed his family. But there we go. Dollgate.
Know
Dollgate
what
thrown
it
in this.
meant. He got narcissistic supply from knowing what it meant himself.
What? I can't hear you. That's the only way, like I say, that's why you've gotten away with this, because you can't hear you. No one knows what you're saying. I unmute, and it only goes to 909. And volume, I don't see that I can go higher. But yeah, I just hope you guys are able to hear as I'm recording her. Oh man.
When Chris Watts discarded Shanann, she
Let's
was
go back to what you
very
said about Dollgate, because I'm
vulnerable.
still pissed off about
A
it.
photo of the doll covered by the plastic sheet to Shanann.
Okay, so she
It's been
says,
going on for some time before this final discard. Throwing the book in the bin was another punishing act and another way of humiliating Shanann.
he says, throwing the book in the bin was another act of discarding, another way to humiliate Shanann. That book was found in the garbage by the police. Now, is it part of the story that she walked in, saw that book in the garbage, went ape shit on him? Could be. Could absolutely be. Go to my part of The Real Bored Housewife of Saratoga Trail, part 3 and 4, and you'll hear my theory on why it was that Shanann Watts had blood alcohol level of 3 times that is normal, and no amount of liquor would be normal in a pregnant woman. But it is my opinion that his first confession was true, that he walked in on her unaliving the girls. And he in turn did that. And because he's a fixer man and he fixes things, he's a mechanic, he fixed the situation. He was in shock. She's now saying that this was a symbol of him throwing her out, just as this picture that he sent was. So wait till she says that's about Dollgate.
She wasn't aware that it had happened. It reminds me of when he sent the photo of the doll covered by the plastic sheet to Shanann. Even though she didn't know what it meant, he got narcissistic supply from knowing what it meant himself.
Okay, so she's saying that even though she didn't know what it meant, he got narcissistic supply by knowing what it meant. So she's saying that he sent that picture saying, this is what they're going to be, essentially in body bags. I mean, and that's the creepy thing about it. Now, Ronnie was the one who brought up this picture. When he was saying Shanann was doing weird things, he said, look at what she put on her Facebook. She is doing this. She is the one who snuffed out the girls. Look at what she did. So Papa Ronnie was spying, even though he wasn't supposed to be on her Facebook, or they had, unfriended each other, whatever. But Papa Ronnie saw that, and a lot of people thought that Shanann, had posted it. But it's a mess. It's a mess. People are now going back and saying that the baby monitors were recording or something, because the police were showing and testing if it was recording when they went and they tested it by strangling the dolls. They couldn't just like wave their hand back and forth and see if the monitors worked or recorded or whatever. And I don't know. I mean, if the monitors would have recorded something, you would think that would have been made public in the discovery, etc., etc. If they did record something and it shows what we believe happened and they've covered it up, well, that's pretty bad. And we live in a really twisted society. I don't know what to think about that, but that's kind of the conversation that's been going on in the last couple weeks again.
When Chris Watts discarded Shanann, she was very vulnerable, pregnant with his child, emotionally and physically exhausted from what she'd been going through and what Chris Watts had put her through in the weeks leading up to her death. And she was longing for him to want to fix things with her and to love her back. I don't believe that Chris Watts would have had the courage to kill Shanann while she was awake. I think he was somebody.
What? Ah, God. She did not just go there. She says she doesn't believe that Chris Watts would have had the courage to kill Shanann while she was away. Well, yeah, because she wasn't there.
Who wasn't capable of being assertive. He either had his.
She said that he wasn't capable of being assertive. Have you ever, okay, that right there, ma'am, discredits your whole line of thinking saying that he is a narcissist. Have you ever heard of a narcissist incapable of being assertive?
His mask on and he was being fake and overly compliant, or he showed his rage. It was one or the other. And I'll.
She said that Christopher Watts was either overly compliant or filled with rage. Um, I don't think that anybody in their life has ever said that Christopher Watts was either one or the other, overly compliant or filled with rage. Raging. Christopher Watts raging. I don't, man.
I'll talk more about how compliant he was later in another video.
Oh, great.
My guess is that he would have found a way to overpower her while she was still asleep. Maybe he straddled her, maybe her arms were beneath his thighs, or maybe he found some other way of overpowering her before he started strangling her and before she woke up. Shanann may have woken up when she couldn't breathe, and if she did, I think Chris Watts may have got narcissistic supply from her being awake when he was killing her.
Oh my God. So we're going with confession number 2, where he said that he straddled her. And she's saying that this is her theory that he may have gotten on top of her while she was still sleeping, put his arms under, his legs. And then she woke up while he was strangling her, and then he got narcissistic supply seeing her awake while he was strangling her. How was her blood alcohol level 3 times that of normal? Nobody can explain that. That's why they had the little press conference all set up, because people were going to flip when they saw this. When that toxicology came back, there was all kinds of interviews conducted by Tambergler to all of the people that Shanann Watts had had dinners with and celebrated with in the past, to ask if she had drank in the past and how much she had drank, because somehow that's relevant as to why there was 3 times that of the legal driving limit in her body. I can see, asking Nicole if she had seen Shanann drink a bunch of alcohol when she was on the plane, but going around and wasting the taxpayers' money to see if Shanann had a habit of drinking while she was having dinners 2 and 3 years ago is an absolute waste of our taxpayers' money.
He had already had the satisfaction of telling her that he didn't want the baby and watching the way that she reacted emotionally to that. And
She said he had already had the satisfaction of watching her face when he said he didn't want the baby. Well, she said she didn't want the baby. She said it so many different ways in different texts, and we know that she was telling him the same thing. Her not taking care of herself responsibly as a mother was not wanting that baby. Her throwing fits saying, "You made me pregnant. You're the one who said that you wanted another child. You're the one who said that you wanted a boy." Yeah, he said all of those things when he was trying to get her to consider motherhood in the first place. She used all of those old things that they had talked about when he was thinking about their future. For her to then say, you did this to me, you got me pregnant, then you need to take care of me, and you're not doing this, and all of that. That's her being the narcissist. Her not nurturing that baby by taking care of herself and making sure that she was eliminating properly, eating properly. She didn't have any diagnoses such as hyperemesis or anything like that. She did not need to go to the emergency room once for hydration, dehydration, anything. She did not have any history of going in for asking if the amount of nausea she had was normal and acceptable. And for somebody who had lupus, you would think that she would be going to the doctor quite frequently to make sure that the baby was okay, as it would be high risk, right? But then again, she didn't have lupus, so she wasn't going to the doctor. She had not been to a family doctor in over 2 years, not been taking any medication for lupus. Pregnancy is extraordinarily hard for people who suffer from lupus, as their body sees it as one more thing to attack. Lupus attacks your body, essentially. She used lupus because she could get in with people who had lupus and prey on them and sell them hope. And people who have lupus or any other autoimmune disease just want hope that there's something within reach that they can pay for that's going to make them feel better. And then they're too embarrassed to say, this didn't help me, when you have somebody like her saying, well, it helped me. Well, maybe you're not using it right. Let's go through the steps again and make sure, well, you look better. Yeah, that's the kind of thing she would tell a person who was really suffering from lupus. She wasn't helping people, she was hurting people.
Now he was able to show her how much he despised her, that he despised her so much he was going to kill her. But why
What?
did Chris Watts hate Shanann so much that he wanted to kill her?
Gee, why did he
A
hate her so
narcissist
much?
is extremely jealous of an empath.
What?
Because an
Oh
empath...
shit, no, she did not just say that. She said that Christopher Watts made it known to Shanann that he was going to kill her because he was jealous of her because she's an empath, and that narcissists are extremely jealous of empaths. And she believes then that Shanann was an empath. This woman has narcissism absolutely backwards and sideways. I'm going to have to stop because I need to go and take some freaking... I don't know. I can't do any drugs. I don't smoke. I don't drink. What can I do? I've got it. I don't know. Maybe I'll run outside and make some freaking snow angels. Then my temples just, I get all glary and everything when I'm listening to this. Oh no. Oh, this is so backwards. We're going to do a part 1 and part 2 on this. I'm going to stop this here at the 10:50 mark. We're going to do a part 1 and a part 2. I really hope you can hear, but like I say, I'm going through the concepts of everything so you can make sure. So we'll do why this woman says that why this woman thinks that I I I I need some kind, maybe I need a Thorazine drip. That's what I need. Okay, because she says she titles this Chris Watts, why he killed his family. So I think I'll put, what do you think? And then I'll put why this woman thinks that, I don't know. I don't even know how to tell. I know this is going to be a part 1 and a part 2 because this is just kind of too much. How, like I say, I think that the volume is so low that people just aren't hearing what she's saying. So they're just like, oh, it's a nice video, a nice lady, and there's nice things in the background. What is that in the background? Is she like from where? I don't know. But you know what? Let me see what my tea bag said. said laughter is the same in all languages. I think that that's important. People used to read tea leaves, and now tea bags have like little messages on them. So I wanted to impart that to you all as well. That my tea that I was drinking before said that laughter is the same in all languages. I really need some laughs. I have just had a rough few days. Um, so I wish I could laugh at her confusing her being so confused. I hope that you laughed, and I hope that you laughed at my dog pooping neighbors. And like I said, I'm just so glad that they're gone. So I hope this brightens up your Monday, and this will be a part one. I'll try to do the part two tonight. If you have not liked and subscribed, now's the time. I'm so close to the goal of 1,000. Please subscribe if you haven't, and like if you want. Thank you so much for always being here. I'll look forward to your comments, and I'll get back to them when I can. Thank you. Bye bye.